That class is so easy. Well, you start to 75 or something. That is good. It's not good. It's only been like a week or 9 weeks and you already got the set sheet. But I really thought it was history. Scramble. That there, you boy. He's talking about
we got 2x cubed minus 12x squared plus 18x equals 0.
Oh, God.
We are solving polynomial equations today. We've been working with polynomial functions for a couple of weeks now. Day before we were factoring them. We're going to start off using factoring to solve these. Okay, we can break this down to factors, set them equal to 0 and solve like we did with quadratics. Now, how many possible answers could this polynomial function have? 3 because of the highest power. That means there could be 3 answers, there could be 2 answers, there could be 1 answer, there could be no answers. You can never have more answers than your highest power. Doesn't mean there are going to be 3, but there could be 3. There could not be 4. Okay? Alright, so to start factoring this thing, the test is the same as it was. We got to take a GCF out if there is one. Do we have a GCF here?
It is.
An X and something else?
2.
2, very good. I'm going to divide this whole thing by 2x. Alright, so this was a 2x cubed. We just took a 2x out. What's left?
2x squared.
X squared.
Yeah.
Negative 12x squared. We divided 2x out. What's left?
12.
Negative 6x.
No.
18x. We divided the 2x out. What's left?
9.
There we go. Finally got one.
Yeah, buddy.
Okay, now that's a plus 9. My thing's not oriented. I missed the spot. Okay, now we have to see if this thing can factor farther. And since we're solving this, odds are it's going to. And this is where a lot of y'all got, that's right, this is where a lot of y'all got on the worksheet yesterday and didn't know what to do next. This is where you do your A times C. So I need 1 times 9, the factors of 9 that add to negative 6.
3 and 3.
See, I don't get that.
It's not.
3
It's
and
negative 3 and negative 3.
Same thing.
No, it's not the same thing. So I write that now. I'm going to bring my 2x down. And then my 2 factors are negative 3, so I'm going to have an x minus 3 and an x minus 3. Now I have 3 pieces there. I'm going to take those, set them equal to 0, and solve. Okay, so my first piece is 2x. So if 2x is equal to 0, what is x? 0. There's one of my answers. Okay, now the good thing about these other 2 factors, they're the same. So I'm going to get the same answer when I solve them, aren't I? So if I got x minus 3 is equal to 0.
X equals 3.
We'll add that 3 and get x is 3. So my answers here are 0 and 3. You can write the 3 twice if you want to, but you don't have to. Okay, now what that's actually called when you get an answer more than once is multiplicity. So using some big fancy math terms, we would say that this 3 has a multiplicity of 2 because we got it 2 times. Right? If you ever see anything that says that.
Yeah, I just blanketed it.
I think you're a little.
I think you're tricky.
Say,
Carter's over here drawing lines.
That's why I know. I know I've never been
What is that noise?
What? I think our board was
So shed orient.
Alright, we got f of x equals negative 2x to the fourth plus 16x squared minus 32. The directions say to find the zeros. Find the zeros just means solve. And Dalton's right, there could be 4. Could be.
There could be.
Okay, because our highest power is 4.
Does that mean it doesn't have to be?
Right. That's right. Okay, first thing I'm going to do, this says f of x. First thing I'm going to do is just set it equal to 0. So I'm going to have negative 2x to the fourth plus 16x squared minus 32 is equal to 0. Alright, now, is there a GCF?
2.
2, so we're going to divide the whole thing by 2. 32 doesn't have an x, so we can't take an x out this time. How about this? What if I want to divide the whole thing by negative 2?
You can.
I'm going to do that because that's going to help me factor the inside of it easier if my a is a positive. So I'm going to divide the whole thing by negative 2.
No big deal.
Okay, that'll give me a positive x to the fourth. This will give me a negative 8x squared and a positive 16.
Well,
Would you look at that?
can we go
Alright.
any further?
Now,
2.
yes. Now that trinomial is an x to the fourth. But that can still factor farther. Y'all be quiet, because x to the fourth can break down as an x squared and an x squared. So you're still doing your a times c on this. So I'm looking at a times c, 1 times 16. I need the factors of 16 that add to negative 8, my b.
Negative 4, negative 4.
Negative 4 and 4. I did a times c. Factors of that add to negative 8. Okay, we all right? Shh. So I've got my 2, negative 2. This started off as x to the
Why would
fourths.
you do negative 4?
Because negative 4.
I multiply those, I get positive 16. If I add those, I get negative 8.
Minus 4.
Yes. Alright, this started off as an x to the fourth, which means I'm x squared.
Okay.
Still equal to 0. Alright, so my options at this point, yes, my options at this point is I could actually go ahead and solve them, but I'm going to keep going with what we did a couple of days ago. Both of those binomials will factor farther. What's it called? What kind of special factor are both of those binomials?
Something square. Difference of square.
Different squares, very good. They're both perfect squares, and they got a minus sign. Difference of squares, I'm going to bring my negative 2 down, factors as x. Take the square roots, one gets a plus, one gets a minus. X squared minus 4 is x plus 2x minus 2. I got that same thing again right there. X plus 2, x minus 2.
Whoa, that's a lot of writing.
We factored it as far as it'll go. Now, here's the trick question. Dalton said we could have 4 answers. That's correct. 1 factor, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Can't have 5.
So you got to divide them by 2.
No?
No.
You idiot.
Good. I've got a dummy answer and Jody sees it. When I set each of these factors equal to 0, does negative 2 equal 0?
No.
No, that's
So-
your dummy answer. So you don't even got to worry about that anymore.
No. Get it.
So here's your 4 factors.
Dude, this is confusing.
X plus 2 equals 0. Gets one of our answers. X minus 2 equals 0. Gets our other answer. So we got 2 and negative 2. And those both have some multiplicities.
2 of each.
2 of each, because we would get negative 2 twice, and we would get positive 2 twice.
What if we get it like negative 2 4 times?
Then it would have a multiplicity of 4.
Alright, so there's no different words.
Nope, it's just multiplicity.
Never. Never, ever, ever.
Yeah, it's hot.
Take
Take your hoodie off. No, bro.
Ours are last day of school for the week.
How do you know something? You just show it.
It hasn't been bleeding. My nose is running. My nose has been stopped up. My nose is running.
Wow.
Alright, we got x cubed minus 8x squared plus 11x plus 20
Guys, it could
equals
be
0. That's right. Landon, this could have 3 answers. I want you to write that one down. This one's going to be a different type to solve. Okay, it's going to be different. Write it down and then we'll talk about it.
Let me get her down here. Right me down, poker face. She's gonna help us. She's over there.
What time do we play tonight? 6.
Who y'all playing?
Jessieville.
You guys gonna win that?
No, it's away.
How far is Jessica?
We're not playing at Jessieville. We're playing at Episcopal. It's the district tournament. I seriously thought Episcopal had that. How many sets did they play? Oh, dang. So did Episcopal win the first one?
Go draw
And then, do you know the order it was?
No, I just saw the last one was 17 to 15, so it was close the whole time.
Oh, dang.
Maybe I use the bathroom real quick.
Yeah, but you're not going to have, no, what's going on? Hurry.
I'll wait.
Alright, so we solved the first couple. Shh. We solved the first couple by factoring. So here's my question. Is there a GCF in this one? No, there's no GCF. So from there, we look at grouping because there's 4. Remember we had to do that with grouping? I'm not going to write it because I want you to be able to visualize this. If I put these 2 in a group and these 2 in a group, if I took a GCF out of this, it'd be x squared, right?
Yeah.
That would leave me with an x minus 8, right?
Yeah.
Can I get an x minus 8 out of here? No, so it's not factorable.
That's the answer.
Phew, no, we got to go farther. We can still solve. All right, so when it's not factorable, our other option, synthetic division, okay, which is easy. 1x cubed negative 8x squared, 11x, and 20. Here comes the dilemma, though. There's always a catch. What are we going to put outside our box to divide by?
0.
No, you can't divide by 0.
1.
Well,
Maybe a 1. There's got to be a method. Okay? What you do, let me get a dry erase board so we can keep multiple boards going here. You're going to take the factors of your constant. What's our constant up there? 20. The one that didn't have a variable, Jody, is 20. Factors of your constant
man, I'm erasing this.
over the factors of your leading coefficient. Those are the possible zeros. So once we find this stuff, then it's plus minus. Then it's trial and error, which if you're a bad guesser is bad news. All right, so our constant is 20. Factors of 20. 1, 2, 4,
5,
5,
10,
10,
15,
20. Factors of our leading coefficient. You gotta be quiet. Our leading coefficient's 1. That's good. Because that means we're just going to have a 1 on bottom, so these are whole numbers only. Sometimes you get a 2 or a 3 down here and you're looking at fractions. Okay? 1's good. Because 1 over 1's 1. 2 over 1's 2. We just got whole numbers. So this means that positive 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, 20 could work. Negative 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, 20 can work. But we know there can only be 3. At most 3 answers, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got 12 possibilities. If we're a good guesser, we pick one right off the bat. If not, we could pick for a while until we get one that works. How will I know if one of these works if I'm doing synthetic division? What will it look like if I know, yes, that was right, or no, that was wrong?
You didn't answer.
What would we see in our remainder spot?
20. 0.
And a 0. If we get no remainder, it was a factor, it works. If we get a remainder, we got to throw it out and start over.
Try 10.
All right. Trevor wants to try 10
Let's
first.
try
This
4.
is trial and error, so I'm going to put my 10 there.
I'm not gonna do it.
Drop my 1. 1 times 10 is 10. Add and get 2. 2 times 10 is 20. Add and get 31. 31 times 10 is 310. I do not get 0.
Huh?
So
Oh,
10.
hey, 4. It's 4.
So
I know
10
it's
doesn't work.
4.
Hey,
Okay.
try 4.
We're trying 4 now.
Thanks, Trevor.
Thanks,
Trevor's
for
bad
what?
that he's wrong. No, Trevor's bad.
Oh, you're a retarded. I'm not going to say
All
that.
right, 4. Shh. Y'all be quiet. 1 times 4 is 4. I add and get negative 4. Negative 4 times 4 is negative 16. I add and get negative 5. Negative 5 times 4 is negative 20. I add and get 0. 4 is a good answer.
Touching me. I'm not playing.
All right. Now, here's your options. If y'all don't shut up, I'm fixing to not be playing. My options for here, this started off as a cubed. I'm down to a squared. We know other ways to solve something that's a squared other than just keeping doing trial and error. You can keep going with trial and error if you want to, but we know sure ways to solve a squared. If it's factorable or quadratic formula. Usually once I get this to the squared level, I use the quadratic formula. This one will even factor. Okay, because remember this would be x squared minus 4x minus 5. Right? You wrote your answer there. Factors of negative 5 that add to negative 4. Negative 5 and 1. Right? Or you could do the quadratic formula. X equals negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. X minus 5 times x plus 1 equals 0. So our 3 answers are the 4 that Stephen got from trial and error, 5, and negative 1.
I get everything. You good.
Yes. Do I get what?
Negative 11 plus negative 11 plus negative 6 plus negative 2.
Uh-huh. This is your 1's your A, negative 4 is your B, and negative 5 is your C. So you do A times C is negative 5.
All right, word.
The factors of that add to your B. Set each of them equal to 0 and solve. Yep. Yep. Alright, let's look at another.
Yeah.
I got 10, f of x equals 10x to the 4th
That's a
minus 11x cubed
slow down.
minus 42x squared plus 7x plus 12. Alright, dilemma here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 terms. So grouping is not even an option on that. You can't split 5 terms into even groups. Okay, there's no GCF other than 1, because you got 11 and 7 in there that are prime, so you can't do that. So, we're going to do synthetic division. Let's set our box up. 10x to the 4th, negative 11x cubed, negative 42x, 7x, and 12. Alright, factors of our constant. What are the factors of 12?
6.
Can we go in order, please?
1,
1,
2,
3, 4, 6, 12.
Okay, now here's what makes this not my favorite problem. What's my leading coefficient? Factors of 10.
I thought it was
My leading coefficient.
Oh, you thought,
2,
okay.
5, 10.
Same again, Dalton.
He did say that.
Thank you, Jody.
2, 5.
Alright, so that means, I'm not going to write these all, but I'll start it off. That means that each of these top ones goes over each of these bottom ones. So you could have positive or negative 1 over 1, 1 over 2, 1 over 5, 1 over 10. That put the 1 over all those. Then you'd have to do the 2 over all those. So positive or negative 2 over 1. You already got 2 over 2, right? 2 over 5. And you already got 2 over 10, because that's the same as a fifth. Then you have to do the same with the 3. Then you have to do the same with the 4. So you're looking at a ton of choices. My personal opinion is I always start with whole numbers first, just because they're easier. So I try to use all the whole numbers before I go to the fractions. Alright, so anybody think they're a good number guesser? Want to pick us one to start with?
Let's do
3. Okay. Just making sure 3's a choice, Dalton, because I've had people like say 7 before, and it's not even a choice. So that's why I paused for a second. Good thing you weren't that doofus. Not that you would be, but some of your group might. 10 times 3 is 30. What's negative 11 and 30? 19. 19 times 3, 47. What is it? 57. 57 and negative 42 is 15. Is that right? 15 times 3 is 45. 52 times 3 is not negative 12, right? I need a negative 12 there to make a 0. So 3 is not going to be our buddy here. Alright, I want to keep a list of ones that were not good. I don't want to try another one again.
Should be 6. Let's do 6.
Okay, 6. 10 times 6 is 60. 49. 49 times 6.
294.
294 and negative 42. 252 times 6.
Okay, it's not going to be it.
That's 900 though.
Well, let's try 4 now.
1,520.
Give me 12.
I would just go, just erase.
So
It's not going to work.
6 is no good.
I think we should go with 1 or 2.
Yeah, I think 2. 2 doesn't work.
Steven
He's
said
already
2
tried.
doesn't
Does it?
work.
Then 1 works. It's 1.
He's already
It's
tried.
definitely got to be 1.
Alright, I'm going to help you out a smidge.
You forgot to erase the other part.
Oh, thank you.
It's 12.
I'd have been yelling about that in a minute. I'm going to help you out a smidge. Y'all simmer down. We need to try a fraction. All these are fractions. So even though I told you my personal preference is whole numbers, this is one where I would be doing a ton of trial and error before I ever exhausted all the whole numbers. So I'm speeding you up.
2 over 5.
2 over 5 is not going to work.
1/2.
1/2 is not going to work.
1
See,
over 5.
but I want y'all to see the problem with this. This is why these problems can take forever. I'm looking at the answer in the book and saving us some time right now. What'd y'all say
1
though?
over 5.
1 over 5 will not work.
What?
1/10.
1/10.
Nope. Remember, they can be positives or negatives.
Oh, negative
Negative.
1.
3/5 will. Let's do 3/5. Alright, so 10 times 3/5, that's 30 over 5, that's 6. Negative 11 plus 6 is 5. 5 times 3/5
I thought
is...
it was negative 5.
It is. Thank you. 5 times...
15 over 5 is 3. Negative 3?
Yes. Then that is negative 45.
Let him.
That is negative 27. That is negative 20. That is negative 12. So 3/5 is good. All right. When we got to this level in the previous problem, we were able to solve it a quadratic way. We can't do that yet. This started off as a 4th power, which means these are only 3rd powers, right?
Yeah, right.
So that means
Are we on students?
you got fewer numbers here. We're just adding a level onto our synthetic division. All right, still sticking, still need a fraction.
Well,
And a bacon.
Sue fed me.
No, it's not going to be the same thing.
I can't.
My brain hurts.
Yeah. That means it's
What was it
good.
under?
The muscle is breaking that. We're gonna get it back up.
Nope.
Is this one bigger than 3/5 or is it
Uh,
smaller? I feel like it's
there's one that's bigger, and then there's a couple that are negatives that are smaller.
You understand what you mean?
But they're still fractions.
Yeah, all 4 of them are fractions. Guess one, Jody. Just guess one.
40.
Oh.
What about 4/5?
4/5 will not work.
Wrong.
Trevor, go move it to the back table. Just get it.
You already called me down voice today.
Negative 1/2 is a good one. Let's look at it. 10 times negative 1/2 is negative 5. Add and get negative 10. Negative 10 times negative 1/2 is positive 5. Add and get negative 40. Negative 40 times negative 1/2 is a positive 20. Add and get 0. So we've got 2 of our 4. But now we are finally, thank goodness, to a quadratic level, because this was the 4th power. This row was your 3rd. Here's your 2nd. So that is a 10x squared minus 10x minus 40. Okay? What I would do here
5 by 10.
is take a 10 out. So that would leave me with x squared minus x minus 4 is equal to 0. Now, that one doesn't factor, because there aren't any factors of negative 4 that add to negative 1. So it's quadratic formula. So RA is 1, RB is negative 1, and RC is negative 4. So we've got x equals negative b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, negative 4 times negative 4 is a positive 16. So we've got 1 plus or minus. What are we looking at there?
I would say it's 17.
What's the square root of 17? It's not a perfect square, it won't break down. So we're going to put these 2 answers, because that's 2, right, with our 2 that we got from the trial and error, 3/5 and negative 1/2. That's probably the most evil type that you'll have when you have something that has multiple factors on top and bottom, and you get into that fraction stuff.
This looks easy.
He clean.
He did it himself.
Alright, want to go back and give a easier one than that, as soon as we get that copied? Let's look at x to the fourth plus x cubed minus 6x squared. Alright, told to solve. This actually said it equals f of x, but that's, if it's equal to anything, you just set it equal to 0. Say that again, that was right.
Do you do an x squared?
Yes.
No, it's not.
Take the x squared out. Okay, we got an x squared to take out. GCF. It always makes your life simpler. What's x to the fourth become if I take an x squared out?
X squared.
Good. What's x cubed if I take an x squared out? What's negative 6x squared if I take an x squared out? Okay, now you could do that synthetic division from here. But don't if you don't have to, because you don't want to have to start a guessing game when you don't have to. Is this factorable?
Yes.
Yes. A times C is negative 6. What factors of negative 6 add to 1?
Negative
3 and negative 2. So I got my x squared already. Then I got a positive 3 and a negative 2. Set all your factors equal to 0 and solve. If x squared equals 0, what do you get for an answer? Yeah, undo the square by square rooting. What's the square root of 0?
0.
That was an easy one. If x plus 3 equals 0, what do you get?
X.
Negative 3. And if x minus 2 equals 0, what do you get?
X equals positive 2.
Attaboy. So there are your 3 answers. Remember these in terms of a graph. Okay, this equation started off x to the fourth, which means the ends are going to go in the same direction. My leading coefficient's positive, which means they're going to go up. So this thing is going to look something along those lines, and it's going to hit at 0, negative 3, and 2. And this is one of those cases where our power was 4, but we had 3 answers. Remember I said you could have 4. Okay, so this one would only cross 3 times. Alright, let's look at a division one. I've got f of x equals, so I'm just going to put 0 in a second, x cubed minus 2x squared minus 23x plus 60. It said f of x, but I changed that to 0. Alright, do you have a GCF?
No.
No. Would I be able to grouping factor this? You got a 23 up there. 23 is prime, isn't it? You're not going to be able to take anything out of a 23, so no, not going to be able to do that. So now's when you're setting up your division. 1x cubed, negative 2x squared, negative 23x, positive 60. Okay, 60 makes me a little bit grumpy because it has a lot of factors, but my leading coefficient's 1. So that undoes my grumpiness because that means I've got all whole numbers, right? Leading coefficient's 1, that's good news. Factors of 60. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 12, 15. 15 times 4, right?
Yep.
20, 30, and 60.
Yeah.
Those are all my factors of 60. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They can also be negative. So I got 24 possible answers, and it only has 3. So Gotta have some good guessing on this. All right, at least they're all whole numbers. Tell me
15 words.
Three. 1 times 3 is 3. I add and get 1. 3. Add and get negative 20. Negative 20 times 3 is negative 60. So 3 works. Okay. Steven's our lucky number picker.
Good job, Steve-O.
Alright, now,
Get the right one the first time.
your options. This was an x cubed. So you can go to a quadratic here. That's what I would do. Don't do trial and error again when you got 22 more to pick from. So this is going to be an x squared, an x, and a negative 20. That is factorable. If you don't like factoring, do the quadratic formula. But the factors of negative 20 that add to 1 are 5 and negative 4. Right? So I got x plus 5 times x minus 4. If x plus 5 equals 0, and if x minus 4 equals 0, so my three answers here are negative 5, 3, and 4. I wrote them in numerical order that time just because. You can put them in any order you want to. Makes it a lot simpler.
This is guessing that.
It's like pulling over his house.
The X
Of course.
Like, when am I ever going to need this? Never.
Yeah,
Never in my life.
Yeah, graduation's not important. You're right.
Yeah, because I'm going to do it all.
No, you're not going to be anything. You don't graduate. X cubed minus 28x minus 48. You're fixing to try this one on your own. Okay, is there a GCF? I'm going to start with you because there's one thing you got to do. Is there a GCF?
No.
No.
Nope. Nope. Why?
They all don't have an X.
You gotta do.
They're all not
synthetic.
even, so they're not a GCF. Some people will try to do the A times C, but that's not going to work because this is an X cubed. So it is what Trevor said on the synthetic. Here's why I wanted to start with you. I got a 1x cubed. You got to remember this. A 0x squared. Remember we looked at that the other day. Minus 28x minus 48. Okay, your options to divide by. It's going to be whole numbers because your leading coefficient's 1, so you only got to know the factors of 48. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, 16, 24, 48.
Yeah.
Okay? Alright, go. Get to work.
Plus or minus 1, 2, 3, hold.
Hey, will you please talk to yourself, Connor? Thank you. Hey, we're done.
What did you get?
Because we're in this table. I'll be sure to go to Mr. Withers and talk to him.
I'm sorry, I'm working in Canadian. I don't feel like it's not 4. It's not 4. So it's not.
I mean, she constantly teaches to this side of the room. She never teaches to us. And she's always going 90 to 90.
That's here.
I mean, we can't even get all the stuff down before she goes to the next thing. I mean, I'm sure if you look at that camera, she's looking straight at them the whole time.
Dude, I think best now. Last
Yeah, we're gonna be done. We ain't graduated. Do you agree, Dad? She teaches that. I already know. I'm glad that it's picking up me talking because it's all true and it proves that she teaches to y'all and not to us.
Cute. Connor
learns off of his paper.
Not two. Okay, it's not two.
I had
Or 3 or 4. Okay.
Yeah, we just don't.
So it comes down
You haven't
to
learned anything
1,
on
6,
you. That's
16, 24, 48.
Still have a bad rating in here.
Somebody else.
What'd you have in here last time?
She's doing 6.
I'm at 17 on one of my tests.
What'd you have, Connor?
86 in here.
Dad, gum, you
Yeah,
cheeky
bro.
son of a
I
gun.
think she missed it. I think it's supposed to be like a 7.
It's 6.
What do you have in here
It does matter.
What do you have here right
The
now?
semester?
What do you have?
The semester is what matters, Connor. It doesn't matter what you have first. They'll average out and whatever comes out semester.
7.
6 times 6.
Carter's got him a
You
73.
only gotta have a D in here to graduate.
Dude, well, how many is I've already taken 2. I've already taken a semester of this, and I have to take the whole year of this. I'm gonna go to this, whatever the name
Yeah.
is.
Or missed it.
The council. The council.
Simmons.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like, hey, I'm gonna have to get up out of this class.
I think she had to take breathing.
Get 1, 6, 8.
Probably.
Oh, she's probably gonna
I think what I did is multiply 8 by
Plus, you were
3.
getting into it.
and laughing. That's all she can get us in
I'm
trouble.
gonna go for 8.
Ain't calling someone over does.
Not 6, 9, 10.
Hey, Albert, how you doing, buddy?
We got pictures of it.
6, 9, 10.
So it's 6 X or was 6 B?
Right there, too, right there.
On the.
Bro, these things are creeping me out, bro. I just realized there's about 4. There's about 1.
Oh my god, dude. 1, 2. There's 4, Albert. There's a 5. There's a 5th one right there. So many Alberts.
I think I got it right.
What number are you? Do you have outside your box? What are you designing?
I ain't none of my business.
Okay, it's not 8. I promise it's not 8.
I think it's.
What did you
4.
multiply 1 by?
Have you tried 4 yet?
I tried 8.
tried 12?
6, -2, and
You tried 36.
Have you tried 24?
36.
You're wrong.
36.
No, it's not.
It ain't gonna be the answer.
Yeah, you're gonna
Thirty-six.
get that totally wrong.
You've got to, those numbers I wrote, those numbers I wrote on the dry erase board there, you've got to
Yes.
do trial and error with those.
Huh? I told y'all it was 4. I've already got the answer. I ain't telling you. College. You're not graduating. And we're due. We're due.
We're dropping that.
What number are you trying?
Connor.
You gotta pick one of those I wrote on the dry erase board
Normally,
there, do trial and error with those are the factors of 48.
You'll go.
Wait, no, it's negative 4.
He does it every day.
I'm gonna be at 1 anyway.
Alright, Chrislyn, give me one of yours that worked. 6. Okay, so I'm gonna put a 6 there, drop my 1. 1 times 6 is 6. I add and get 6. 6 times 6 is 36. I add and get 8. Is that right?
Yes.
8 times 6 is 48. So in 48, negative 48 is 0.
That's
so
right.
There's one of your good answers. Now that means this was x cubed, so I'm good on a quadratic level here. That's x squared plus 6x plus 8 equals 0. Did you do the formula or factor? Factor. Factors of 8 that add to 6 are 4 and 2. Some of y'all can skip this step once you know your factors. The zeros are just opposite signs, right? If you take x plus 4 and set it to equal to 0,
Negative.
gets you negative 4. And x plus 2 equal to 0 gets you negative 2.
Yeah, you said 4 did work? I thought it did.
No, it does because you end up getting,
Yeah, you
you get negative 96.
That's what I'm
And
saying.
the 4 don't work.
Alright, that's, you know, if you're like me and you're not a very good number picker, that can be a nightmare sometimes, doing that trial and error stuff.
That can be a test.
No doubt about it, it can be, yes.
I won't
We will add on to this some more into the next week. Okay?
What are we doing tomorrow here, same thing?
Remediation.
That's what I.
Oh, we're
Oh, let's
out.
calculate it.